Hi, this is Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextrous Gunfighter to do kind of a little bit of a review on the KelTec PF9.
I got one!
This has been a pistol that's been part of my kind of regular EDC for many years. And what I like about it is it's very lightweight, very compact for a 9mm. And I mean, it doesn't have a manual safety on it or anything, no trigger safety. It's this really long double action trigger pull, which is not the best for marksmanship, but it's good for being sort of safe and while carrying around the chamber and holstered inside the waistband or however you carry it, even pocket carry. I've done pocket carry with this many times. Now, one of the things I run into is that the trigger, besides kind of sucking, so that long trigger, although it is a smooth trigger pull, it's really long and heavy. But the other thing is that it kind of pinches. It wants to, when you release the trigger, it grabs a hold of, can pinch your finger between the frame and this little ledge on the trigger, and can bite a little bit. I've even occasionally gotten some little blood blisters as a result of that bite. So not the most comfortable pistol as far as shooting it, but for carrying it is exceptional. This came out, I believe, in 2006 or 2007, and it was really years ahead of its time. I mean, you know, now I've gone through like the FNS9C, the Springfield Armory Hellcat, the SIG P365 series, and the Mossberg MC2 SC and the Mossberg MC2C. And so, you know, I've definitely got better pistols in my armory now, but still, for a single stack, nice thin single stack pistol, this is still on the rounds per size and weight, on my rounds per size and weight analysis spreadsheet, which I'll have a link down below, is still the lightest or more rounds per size and weight than any other single stack out there. So ahead of its time, yeah, just not easy to shoot. Now, in one of my previous videos, I did a comparison between the Mossberg MC2C and the Walther PPQ M1 Classic. And that was to do some analysis on what I called the Applegate Grip Ratio. And while the MC2C has an exceptional trigger, the Mossberg MC2C is a pretty good trigger. It's not great, not like PPQ standards level, but it is an adequate trigger. And what I found was, based on that kind of preliminary research, was that because of the thin, at least my hypothesis is that the thin grip, that is a high grip ratio on the MC2C, I was able to actually shoot it better than the PPQ. And that was using, and that's comparing based on using the iTarget laser system as for scores on that, as well as using the MantisX Elite to do analysis on how much the muzzle is moving when you are pulling that trigger. And so what my results were was I found that for between the PPQ and the MC2C was that a two-handed grip between the two pistols, whether left or right, the MC2C was just a little bit better. I was able to shoot it just a little bit better, as well other shooters, than the PPQ. Now, when I went to doing point shooting, where you're not using the sights and you're basically indexing the direction of the pistol with your body, your hand, the grip on the pistol, was significantly better with the MC2C with its narrow grip compared to the PPQ with its kind of oval grip. So today what I'm going to do is do a comparison to see if the PF9 with its exceptionally thin grip, in fact, it has one of the higher grip ratios. It's at 2.16 versus 1.47 on the PPQ. So very high Applegate grip ratio on the PF9. So the pointability on this is going to be excellent. I'm going to be able to just pick it up, and with that kind of a blade, you know, slab slide type grip, I'm going to be able to point at a object very intuitively with this pistol when not using the sights. And so we're running in each of these pistols, we have an eye-target laser. And so that'll be getting the score for that. And then we're running the MantisX 10 Elite on each pistol. And so we'll be getting 2 scores. And on our spreadsheet, we'll be doing analysis of both two-handed shooting left and right and one-handed point shooting left and right, both pistols. So two-handed left and right, one-handed point shooting left and right. Now the two-handed, we will be doing sighted shooting, so I expect definitely the PPQ is going to dominate on this. It's going to have, with the excellent trigger and the longer and much better, easier to get a grip on it, I'm probably going to do quite a bit better with the PPQ. The PF9, my leading into the test hypothesis is that I'm not going to be able to shoot, because of the trigger, I'm not going to be able to shoot this as well as the PPQ. But I think the gap between these two pistols will narrow when it comes to point shooting. Oh, one thing is I've pretty much gone to, as per my results of how the 22 wins, 9mm versus 22. I'm pretty much now carrying the KelTec P17, which has an even more exaggerated Applegate grip ratio. So the pointability is excellent, and in my testing I am able to put 2 to 3 times the rounds per second with this pistol than I am with, say, a 9mm. And with the low recoil, I'm able to stay on target and make lots of hits. Now the interesting thing is that if you, according to the NATO and U.S. Army Handbook of Human Vulnerability, they found that 22, 9mm, and 45 caliber all have basically the same effectiveness in gunfighting. And the key factor, especially when hits to a non-vital area, all of them are very effective if they hit vital areas, whether it's your heart, central nervous system, brain, spinal column, liver. All of them are very effective for instant stops if you hit those vital areas. But those are kind of hard, you know, it's kind of hard to do. It's kind of hard to make hits there. So to do it consistently, unless you're Jack Wilson. But hits in the non-vital areas, again, 22, 9, and 45 all have about the same effectiveness in non-vital areas, where basically you're relying upon the aggressor to bleed out. And what they found was that the key thing was not the caliber, but the number of hits. And so that gets to be kind of interesting. You think of the fact that with a 22, I'm able to get 2 to 3 times the hits per the same amount of time it takes me to put 1 round of 9mm. That's definitely something to, you know, ponder. Now there are issues, you know, or claims or concerns that the 22 with rimfire cartridges is not going to be as reliable as a centerfire cartridge like the 9 or 45 or 40 or whatever. My experience with using the like the Ruger 1022, a rifle, in Project Appleseed, is that it can be extraordinarily reliable if you run like CCI Mini Mag in it. We've gone through probably some years before the 2020 thing all happened. I would go through 10 to 20,000 rounds of 22 a year through that rifle with I can't even remember any malfunctions with it. It's just been unbelievably reliable. And then you compare that to some recent experience with our ARs and RDBs and our 5.56 rifles, including a bolt action rifle with some Hornady Frontier, where we had some blown primers that you know, cause some reliability issues there. So it's you know, my experience in that regards, that's on rifles, of course, is that the 22 can be very reliable. Now, one thing that concerns me, and you know, and those venues were like Project Appleseed, we're basically loading magazines and we're not carrying them on us for a long period of time. So I'm wondering if the rimfire, if I'm carrying a magazine and it's like in the pistol or on a, you know, a mag pouch, and it's, you know, getting bumped around and bounced around, does that over time, does that cause a degradation of that those rimfire primer pockets that run on these cartridges? And so it'd be interesting to do some kind of long-term and to take you know, some intensive amounts of ammo to get the testing to where we could, you know, say one way or the other. For me, I will be running the 22, but I will be cycling my carry ammo very regularly. I will regularly practice with the P17 and use the ammo that's in the magazine and then keep loaded fresh ammo in it at least once a month. You know, fire the ammo that's in the magazine, load fresh, so I always got fresh ammo in my carry magazine. So anyway, it's just some things to keep in mind when we, you know, think about this P17 by KelTec with the very, very high Applegate grip ratio, which makes it exceptionally pointable. But let's get back to today's subject, PF9 versus PPQ. PPQ is a crazy awesome pistol. It's never been a carry pistol for me. The PF9 has often been a carry pistol for me until just you know, recently, the past year when I switched to the MC2C when carrying a 9mm. But I think the PPQ is going to dominate in this test. But what I want to do is kind of see that difference. Does the PF9 close the gap when we start talking point shooting because of that Applegate grip ratio? So let's begin our testing. Okay, so I've run through 10 iterations of both using the PPQ and the PF9, left and right-handed shooting two-handed, left and right-handed shooting one-handed. We're using, again, the MantisX 10 Elite to do scores for how much I'm moving, displacing the pistol as I shoot it, and then also using iTarget training lasers and iTarget app to do actual target scores. Now, that's of course eliminates the recoil issue. The PF9 is definitely going to be much more a handful under recoil. With it such a lightweight, the PPQ weighs almost twice as much. So, and you've got a full pinky finger grip on this, and on the PF9 you only have really kind of 2.5 finger grip on it. So in real world, the PPQ is going to have an advantage just for the recoil management. But what we found, kind of interesting, shooting the two-handed scores, the PPQ was 1.82% better on the Mantis scores than the PF9, and it was 5.98% better on the iTarget score. That's the two-handed shooting. Now when I went to point shooting, that is point shooting one-handed and not using the sights, just focusing at the target and using your body proprioceptively to point shoot, to aim, rather than using the sights, you're aiming with your body, or basically where you point your index finger, that's where you hope to hit. On point shooting, the PPQ did 1.23% better on the Mantis score, but the PF9 point shooting was 6.79% better on the iTarget score. And that's really surprising. During the whole testing, it was becoming kind of tedious. When I came time to shoot the PF9, I kind of almost hated it. It's harder to rack for starters. The slide serrations are pretty poor. And so it was kind of just a pleasure to pick up the PPQ. Much easier to rack, better slide serrations, the sights are great, and the trigger is crazy amazing. And so it was a delight to shoot. It's just, when I actually look at the data, and I'll put a link down in the description below to the spreadsheet. It's a Google Docs spreadsheet. It just blows me away. I mean, that's a huge swing. Two-handed, the PPQ is 5.98% better on the iTarget score. PF9 one-handed point shooting was 6.79% better on the iTarget score. You know, that's a swing of basically 12% swing on the iTarget score. The Mantis score was pretty much the same across both. It was definitely easier to manage the trigger on this because the trigger is so good. I mean, pulling the trigger on the PPQ, it's very unlikely you're going to displace the pistol from target. Whereas the PF9, this really long double action trigger pull, while it is a very smooth and polished feel to it, it is long and heavy. It must be 10 pounds or something. It's really long. It's just as you're squeezing that trigger, it definitely, you know, it wants to cause the pistol to displace off target. Now, one thing on point shooting is Rex Applegate teaches what's called the convulsive grip, where you're not really doing this fine trigger control, you're just kind of pulling it pretty quick. So, you know, maybe there's something to that, because I was trying to use that. I was moving through both pistols pretty quick because with almost 1,000 shots fired, laser shots, you know, it's pretty tedious to stand there in the basement doing this all day. You know, I was shooting pretty quickly throughout it. And the same with the PF9. I was trying to just stabilize it enough so that the MantisX 10 score would reflect the actual shot, and not any movement, you know, coming up before the shot. So I don't know. Anyway, pretty interesting. I mean, that 6.79% better on the iTarget score with the PF9. Did not expect that at all for point shooting. Now, definitely out at the range, you go range shooting. And if you're doing the two-handed hold, sighted hold, there's no doubt this sweet trigger on the PPQ is going to dominate. But if we're talking, I guess, if we're talking gunfighting, and it's from the hip or point shooting and you're fending off, hey, maybe this thing does okay. To be honest, if it were me and I knew, you know, I mean, I carry the PF9 because when I do carry it, because it's so lightweight and very slim. So it's very easy to carry. It holds 7 rounds, so it's not a very high capacity, but it's very convenient and easy to carry. PPQ, as much as I like it out at the range, I've never carried it. It's just too thick and heavy. But man, when you go to the range and the carry side of things doesn't matter, this is the pistol you want. It's a pleasure to shoot. But whereas the PF9 is a pleasure to carry. It's Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextrous Gunfighter. Hope you liked the video. Check out the spreadsheets, and also check out the iTarget stuff. I'll include links down in the description, and of course the Mantis 10. Mantis X10 Elite, great training aid, and I found it very interesting to use during all of our testing for this Applegate grip index hypothesis. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.